Hi, my name is Kurash Ghaffari. Today I'm going to be presenting my persuasive speech on the topic of financial literacy in high school and college. I have my great audience. Thank you for them being here. And now I will go ahead and begin. So the goal of this is to convince students and those with the capability to make changes in the education system that we need to strengthen financial literacy and support educational support on these topics to reduce student debt after college and work towards a financial long-term stability. Millions of students graduate with debt, often without being taught how the basics of interest, credit scores, or budgeting actually work. Financial literacy, as a definition, is the ability to manage finances like budgeting, saving, credit, debt, and investing. Even though these areas are clearly important in everyday life and will be for the rest of our lives, students will often receive little to no education on those topics. As college students, the financial decisions we make right now, such as student loans, credit cards, spending habits, will affect our lives long after graduation. Costs, debts, and financial complexity are rising, and so learning later usually comes with having hard damage already done and learning the hard way. Because the long-term consequences of poor financial decisions are so severe, we have to address the problems at the root and identify the causes, and commit to solutions related to the lack of financial literacy among students. To understand why these issues need attention, we first have to examine the problems that it creates. The lack of financial literacy among students leads to both financial instability and greater stress. Poor financial decision making and long-term debts come from these bad decisions are uninformed decisions. A research published in the Journal of Consumer Affairs in 2014 by Lusardi and Mitchell reveals that students with poor financial literacy are have much higher chances to accumulate high debt rates and accrue interest on poorly managed credit cards. Without a good understanding of interest rates, APRs, minimum payments, payment terms, and budgeting, students can easily lose track of payment due dates and get trapped in long-term financial obligations. These mistakes trail us long after graduation. Picture an entire life where you are hounded by your financial mistakes that you made in college when you were uninformed. A study in the Journal of College Student Development in 2016 from Britt and many other found that financial stress can greatly reduce students' performance in the classroom and entirely mentally, academically, physically if they play a sport. These financial decisions, when they hound over your head, they seem to affect your performance in the classroom. So when students face financial pressure, it becomes difficult for them to concentrate or perform academically and stay on top of their studies. Financial stress always will find its way into the classroom, and students can fall behind and academically before they even graduate. These problems come from systemic gaps in education rather than it being the student's fault, and we have to address that. The lack of financial knowledge among students is tied to the limits in education and the increasing complexity of financial management. According to the Educational Researcher in 2009 by Mandel and Klein, many U.S. colleges do not require personal finance coursework, and nor do high schools. When financial education is optional or completely absent, many students enter adulthood unprepared for everyday financial situations and decisions, even though money management is a basic need in life. Students are expected to manage finances without ever being taught how, and the financial systems that we see every day are getting more and more complex. Research from the Economics of Education Review by Boatman and many more in 2020 highlights how confusing student loan terms can add strain during and after college. Modern financial systems require an advanced understanding that most students cannot navigate, which increases mistakes and discourages planning. These complex systems amplify the consequences of financial ignorance, and confusion becomes very expensive. However, these causes can be solved through very accessible solutions. Strengthening financial literacy requires both systemic action and individual engagement. Findings from the Journal of Economic Education by Wallstead and many more in 2017 show that financial education greatly improves money management and budgeting skills. Colleges and high schools have to require a short personal finance class covering basics such as like budgeting, credit scores, loans, repayment term, saving, investing, and many more, and using real life practical work to apply these situations and learn them properly. Students have to advocate for these financial literacy courses through means of student government, meeting with teachers, or end of year surveys. And another way we can solve these issues is campus financial resources. Universities that offer financial counseling, according to Shao et al., universities that offer financial counseling reflect higher student confidence and better decision making. Campuses can expand workshops, online tools, and financial advising sections and services that make life so much easier. Students should actively be able to use financial resources and encourage peers to do the same by taking these steps. Booking financial advising sessions with a counselor or attending a workshop. Asking your professors or teachers resources like clubs, workshops, and taking elective classes can also be another way to do this. Partnering with the student government or going to clubs to run short workshops on budgeting, credit, loans, saving, and scam awareness, as well as request expanded advising hours or more workshops through student government proposals. When resources are easier to access and students actually use them, financial mistakes decrease and confidence increases. Now, there are counter arguments to this point. Students can just learn money skills online and we don't need requirements. However, optional learning won't reach as many students. And the materials complexity is so beyond us that learning without a teacher is very difficult. Required instruction and guided campus support make it accurate, practical training for everybody. In conclusion, the lack of financial literacy among college students leads to long-term debt and academic stress due to inadequate education and complicated financial systems. However, mandatory education and institutional support provide real solutions. Take control of your financial future by pushing for required financial education, by promoting campus financial resources, and by really taking action on your financial freedom. It doesn't start after graduation. It starts with education today. I want to thank my audience, and I want to really say that I believe in this point, and I hope that a lot of you agree with me on the necessity of financial learning. Thank you so much. Have a good night.